Hey, this is Keith from World's Finest Wrestling, and you're checking out the 3 Count Podcast.
I'm in fashion.
Welcome everybody to another great edition of the 3 Count Podcast presents Now Entering, and I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you out that mountain called wrestling. And by now, after our 300th and something episode, our season 4, I would just finally hope that you would say with me, I am your Sherpa, because just like your tribal chief, acknowledge me. But like every good Sherpa, it's never about me. It's about who's entering. So who's entering the ring today? You can find this man attached to World's Finest Wrestling. He is one of my own because, us Millers are few and far between. We are not well known. He is Keith Miller.
Hey, how's it going, man?
What's up? What's up, man?
Not much, brother. Just getting ready for the show in March and, chilling. Finally got the weekend off,
So it was one thing too, where like you were talking about, like we were talking about stuff like offline, and you had mentioned you guys were doing like a tag turmoil kind of tournament thing going on, and it got very interesting. So I started checking out some of the stuff on World's Finest, and I was kind of intrigued. I was like, dang, I've never actually been out to Indiana before. I was like, I kind of need to make my way out this way and kind of see like what all the hype is all about myself. So I was like, let me bring on Keith. We can have some conversations and talk about some fun stuff, and then we'll just go from there.
Yeah, right on. So I grew up on the East Coast, upstate New York, actually. And the coast always seemed like, in the 2000s, the big independent wrestling boom started, sort of. It seemed like the East Coast and the West Coast were getting all the attention. But for me, OVW, HWA, like the Midwest had the best wrestlers, honestly. So being out here now, I feel even more like the wrestling out here is awesome. And I've been involved in it out here now since I ran my first show in 2008. So I've been running events out here for a while, man, and the scene just keeps growing and keeps getting better. And if you look, man, AEW and Impact, they raid the Midwest. There's tons of guys from out here on those shows. So even WWE to an extent, but yeah, we've been putting out some good stuff out here.
Yeah, there is a bunch of people, like whether you're a Seth Rollins fan, he's coming out of Iowa, or maybe you're a fan of like Gargano and what's going on in Cleveland, or you're even checking out a couple of twins that we may know that are coming up Dayton. Everybody has like all these like massive moves that are happening, and like you're right, like the talent does get picked up a lot from the Midwest.
Yeah,
so it's definitely I wouldn't even say at this point it's not really like a hidden gem anymore, because like there's just a plethora of talent, whether it's a Moxley or a Shauna Reed, or you're looking at God, I'm trying to remember The Miz. You're talking about guys like Dolph Ziggler. So it's crazy to think about like how many people can just keep coming and feeding through the system.
Absolutely. I think a lot of it is the Midwest has great trainers. If you really think about it, out in California, there's Santino brothers, and those guys are obviously putting out some really talented guys and girls. But out here, man, there was Les Thatcher, and now there's Cody Hawk. Well, there was Cody Hawk. He's taking it on the road with the micro wrestlers now. But Cody Hawk, American Kickboxer, was out here with the Rage Dojo, and those guys really took off in the early 2000s, man. The Rage Dojo was everywhere. So it's just I think the training out here is really, really good, and then that gives everybody a really awesome base. You got Danny Cage and the Monster Factory back east, but I really think that the training in the Midwest is as far as getting groundwork in, and really, Sammy Callahan's getting ready to open up a school out here.
You're talking too loud.
Maybe.
You're talking.
Sorry, my son.
No, but you definitely make a lot of great points about talent that's coming out from like the Midwest, especially like you said, Sammy Callahan. I love the fact because I know that he's like opening his school out there too. So I'm always definitely intrigued to like hear more about it. So it's crazy. Like you're right. Like there's like a lot of talent that feeds back into the area too. Because I mean, like even if you're looking like, and I know like some people will argue this, right? Whether Kentucky would be considered Midwest or South, but OVW does like great work.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I think Kentucky.
Dad, talk a little bit too.
Most of those guys come up here. You know, I'm not saying they don't go down to Tennessee and West Virginia and whatnot, but a lot of the Kentucky guys come up to Ohio and Indiana and are Midwest based. You know, when they're not in Kentucky, they're coming up here. So
right.
Can you please go quieter?
So I know another dude, he's in the Michigan area too, Solomon Stone, like the Gold Rush, like such a good dude. He's an amazing talent that comes out of there. And then we've had a couple guys from the Midwest too.
I don't know why I didn't mention Truth Martini. Like Truth Martini is one of the best trainers in the business. He's in Detroit. So
right. It's crazy. You do think about it too. There is like a lot of good talent to get plucked out and to be trained by too, like just in the area. So yeah, it is. And if you look in Iowa, obviously like you have, you know, Seth Rollins' school, right? Just like right down there in that area in Davenport. So yeah, there's a lot of fun people to be checked out.
Or a new class in May. So so they're going to be putting out, so I think they do a 3-month class, so from May until, what is it, around June, July? Yeah. So at the end of July, August, there'll be some kids coming out of there. It's like an advanced class. So we've actually got a guy, Dion Freeman, who is from Newcastle, Indiana, and we use him. And he's going out for that. He got accepted, so he's going out for the Black and Brave. But
nice.
Yeah, Dion's a good kid, man. He's big, quick, real explosive. And I think he's still kind of getting his footing as far as his personality and all that kind of stuff. But in the ring, I mean, he's coming along real nice. I think going out there with Merrick and Seth and those guys is really going to help him a lot. I think Crotch. Last I knew, Crotch was actually the head trainer out there.
Right.
But I know Seth still comes through, you know, and which is awesome. I mean, that's got to be amazing, you know. Freaking like, man, it's funny because I went to a ROH show. I don't know if you're familiar with the Soul Shooters, but I used to travel with them and sell their merch and stuff like that. And I was at an ROH show afterwards, and we were just kind of talking to Necro Butcher, and Seth Rollins came up, Tyler Black at the time, you know, and just kind of said goodbye to everybody. And I had just watched him wrestle, but he seemed like such a normal guy, you know,
right.
in a hoodie. He just came over. He wasn't like a big superstar, and he was just like I think he was still doing the Age of the Fall at that point, so he was kind of moving up. But you know, he came over and made sure that he said goodbye to Necro and told him to be safe and all that kind of stuff. And now he's on TV. He's been on TV for years. You know?
Right.
Crazy leap, man. You know.
So what's your thing that you look for from like a wrestler to like help like, because we're talking about like Seth Rollins and how like Seth Rollins came off kind of like normal and clearly like, you know, he's a giant superstar now. So like, what do you look for like wrestlers when they like send in like their resumes and stuff to kind of like differentiate themselves?
Don't rainbow your clothesline. Yeah. That's very important. Like honestly, man. So when I was training, there was a couple things that my trainer, Vinny Ferrari, who's an awesome dude, kind of hammered into me. When you pick your opponent up, you pick them up with authority. You grab them by the head, by under the armpit, near the neck. You don't hold their hand because it looks like you're going to go skipping through a field with them. So when I'm watching a match If somebody's trying to, that where the head goes, the body follows. So it has to look like you're yanking them up. So that's important. You have to take the ring with authority. Baby, stop. You have to. Sorry, my son's a little sick, man. But yeah, you have to take the ring with authority. Like that's important. Don't pick your opponent up by your hand when you're picking them up off the ground. Don't rainbow your clotheslines. So those are, interaction with the crowd is super important. I want somebody, because out here they basically want two things, man. They want either the Road Warriors and Dick the Bruiser, which big guys slapping meat. I mean that's or they want Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan. They want to super entertain, really interactive. So that's what I look for. And then once you get into the locker room, you have to fit. We have fun, man. We're a laid back family. Everybody takes care of each other. You got to be able to have a conversation. Like if you just come in and kind of sit off in the corner or even seem standoffish, you're probably not coming back. You have to I'm totally open to suggestions, man, but you have to talk to me like it's a suggestion. You know what I mean? I'm an open guy. I talk to people. I like the creativity coming in from everybody, but at the same time, you have to respect that I'm the guy in charge. So but yeah, I mean that's pretty much it, man. You got to be able to get along and work the crowd and do the small things right. If you don't do the small things right, then you're not going to do the big things right. I mean, that's just so.
No, I like that. I like that a lot because it's one of those things where even for me, because I've only been in for 3 years. Yeah. So I just still go out and find people and just ask them for advice. But it's the one thing that I hear consistently, right, is that always work on the little things because the big things will seem bigger if the little things are just taken care of. And I think that's such an important thing to keep remembering, that you have to keep working on the fundamentals and keep working on the basics. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, you're only going to be as good as much as you've prepared. And so I think about that a lot, especially coming from the military background. I'm always looking for those little bits that I'm all right, where did I mess up here? Where did I mess up here? How come I messed up at this point? I'll talk about it here right now. You guys will probably see it 2 weeks later. But I was getting whipped off a clothesline, and I was supposed to the way it was supposed to work out is the person was going to do a duck under, and then get me in a headlock, and we just lost connection. And once we lost connection, I hit the rope. I came back, and I just ran in and grabbed him by the waist, and then he just went right for the headlock. But we were just it was one of those things where it's hey, we got to get back to the point, so we got to save it the best that you can.
Yeah, I remember watching a match with Ric Flair and Kerry Von Erich, and they were doing the drop down crisscross into a headlock, leapfrog headlock I think was what they were doing, but one of them tripped, and I can't remember who tripped, but one of them tripped, didn't hit the ropes, turned back around, jumped over the guy, hit the ropes again, and then came back and then got a headlock. It was just and as a kid, I was something was off, and Ric Flair was one of the best ever. And I could still I was something was off there. If you can make a mistake and do it really smooth, pick it back up. I mean, that's, I think probably Ric Flair and Kerry Von Erich would have been better off just going out there from the stories I've heard about Kerry Von Erich. It doesn't seem like he remembered a lot of stuff. So, so I don't know, if the headlock was supposed to happen, but he tripped, almost fell, hit the ropes again, and then just grabbed the headlock. I feel like it was Kerry who tripped, then Flair just grabbed the headlock and just slowed his ass down, But yeah, even I was young when I watched that. I mean, I'm 48, but I was still pretty young when that happened, and I was just man, something happened there. But when I was a kid, man, I always found a way to believe, it just always did. I could always rationalize everything. I thought that when you stomped on the ground and punched someone, it made your punch harder. You're putting more into it. Yeah.
I remember when one of my friends got into a fight. I was in my 7th grade year. I think it was going into my 8th grade year. And they got into a fight, and one of the upperclassmen like noticed me, and they're like, "What's he gonna do? Throw fake punches?" And I was like, "Ayo!" And then it's just funny to know that one thing was like they noticed that I've always wanted to be a pro wrestler, and I was like, keep like getting older. I was like, I'm gonna do it now.
Yeah.
And it just like jumped into it. It was just funny how that was something that was foreseen like almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But,
It's
so you were kind of
like wrestling and just having that in common. All my friends, it was wrestling and superheroes. Like we all wanted to be wrestlers when we grew up, and we all liked superheroes, and it was just it was cool to find that community, So
it is. It's cool, like because with wrestling, like you see a lot of people come together for like a lot of reasons, but then like it's always weird to know like you have like that one connection between you and somebody else, right?
Yeah.
Like you'll find those mutual friends like in here, and then they usually share the same interest as you, and if you don't have like the same exact, you can always find something that y'all will normally just agree on and just love to talk about. So between like superheroes, maybe some like heavy metal rock band, or like some hip hop artist, or like
Tango shirt.
musicals.
I'm man, 80s metal. That's what I grew up on. Hard rock, metal, 80s stuff. So yeah.
I like it.
No shirt on. But man, it's funny. Me and Apollo Star is my best friend. We've known each other since before we were in the business. Back home, back in New York. And we were working together at Cornell University. We were like custodians in the summertime, dining hall workers during the regular semesters, and we were sorting through this nasty laundry, and it smelled terrible. And Apollo goes, "Do you smell what The Rock is cooking?" And I was just like, wrestling. I was like, "Hey, do you like wrestling?" And he was like, "A little bit." He liked it way more than a little bit. So like, we spent the whole summer just talking about Bob Sweetan and Frankie the Thumper Lancaster, and just it was cool, man. And then we've been friends now for almost 30 years, I think, at this point. So
Dang, that's crazy.
Yeah. And he was
It was funny.
So
I just recently met a person at the gym that I work at, right?
Yeah.
And I was training a client, and this lady was laughing because I was talking about and I was like, you could just take a shot, right? And that's all I kind of said. And then out of nowhere, she goes, "And then when you get up, you can sell with the Dusty Rhodes legs." And I just turned, I was like, "Yo, what?" She was like, "Yeah, like the wrestler Dusty." I was like, No. I did skip all that.
Yeah.
You're a wrestling fan?
Right.
She's like, "Yeah." And then it just so happened that this particular woman, her boyfriend, who also lives at the gym, he's the cameraman for AEW. And I was just like, that's funny. I was like, it's a small world.
Yeah. So, do you know who Jeremy Ping is?
Yes.
Okay, he is a very good friend of mine. He's actually I have acquaintances and people who I'm friendly with who are successful in the wrestling business, but Jeremy is my friend. We've hung out and had dinner together and stuff, and and I'm so proud of him, man. Going from Swerve Video and kind of hustling around here in the Midwest, and then Daddy, stop! Daddy's telling a story. So yeah, Swerve Video around here and hustling in the Midwest, and then getting the gig with Ring of Honor, and then just eventually now he's like on the production team in AEW. I don't want to say he's more important than he is, but I feel like he's like the head of production in AEW now, essentially. That's amazing. To me, that is amazing. My buddy Jeremy is, I I could probably text him if I felt like it. It's just nuts, man. I'm really, really proud of him, man, and I feel like if he can accomplish that, then we can all accomplish it,
Yeah, and that's where I was thinking about it too. It's like you're gonna take this as far as you want to take it, and I know that's something that like a lot of people have told me. They're like, because like the one question that got asked me was like, "What's your goal as far as being a pro?" And I was like, "Dude, I'm just trying to figure out if I can just like hang and bang with people here. Like that's it. Like I don't really know what I'm trying to get accomplished." It's like first it was like, can I get into a pro ring? Now it's like, I know like a bunch of my friends are like, yeah, now we got to dream bigger. I was like, yeah, I know. And it's weird because like the whole time I just didn't know if this was going to be something for me or not. And now all of a sudden here I am looking at like, all right, what's the next level? Where do we go from here? How do we get to that place? What are we going to do to do this? And it's insane to me to think more and more about it. I'm like, bro, like I enjoy doing what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny with World's Finest Wrestling. We were so I've always been kind of a creative person, and I've always wanted to be involved in entertainment. I had a band in high school. I did a little acting. I'm actually going to be in an independent movie that's coming out here in a little while called The First Harvest. It's a horror movie. And that was fun. Like that was a lot of fun, man. Working with people who actually know what they're doing as far as acting, and then having them compliment me. Baby, you got to turn that down. I'm sorry.
He's at 23.
But yeah, it's rough, dude. I'm a single parent, so there's nobody kind of like take him off to the side. Like I'm here with my 8-year-old kid, man. But
there's no judging going on in this place because I have an 11, soon to be 12-year-old myself, so I definitely understand like where the world is at. So, and I'm not a single parent, but I definitely understand like the challenges anyway of parenting, and so should you watching this right now.
Don't judge me because my kid talks every once in a while on this thing. All right, so yeah. Anyway, I always wanted to be an entertainer. I've always been creative. When I was in my early 20s, I tried to write my autobiography. And I was like, I'm 22. Maybe wait a little bit. I just, always felt like I had something to say to the world. So then I started doing promoting because the wrestling didn't work out. I'm not really very athletic, and I wasn't very athletic. And I ended up hurting myself pretty badly in my first match. And it just kind of, but I had a trainer back home, or a promoter back home, who kind of took me under his wing and saw that I had a mind, at least for the business. Trying to move that side of my hair. There we go. Mirror effect. All right. So I was looking at that like so yeah. So anyway, what's up, baby?
Hear what they're saying.
Well, go get on the computer, honey. I told you.
Yeah, I don't want to get
It's
up.
the same stuff.
Oh,
He's watching YouTube on our TV. We have a 97-inch TV, and I know why he'd rather watch it on there, but I'm
Yeah.
in the other room.
I can see better.
All right. Anyway, so Don Adams, he was this awesome guy. He had done preliminary matches for the WWF, and he actually worked as a conquistador when one of the regular conquistadors wasn't available. He passed away last Easter, kind of suddenly, but good dude. Took me under his wing and kind of taught me the basics of being a promoter. And he was super old school, so he taught me like, get in the local paper, get the media behind you in town. Go to local businesses, talk to them. If you're looking for sponsors and somebody wants to offer you $20, take that $20. Give them a freaking corner of the flyer for that $20. Do something. Don't ever turn anything down. Beat the streets. Put up flyers. So many people nowadays just throw up a event page on Facebook and think that's what's going to get people in. And it might work if you live in Indianapolis or Charlotte, where a lot of people. But I live in Connersville, Indiana. Small town, man. But there's a lot of other small towns around it. So if I let the people in the area know, they're going to let other people in the area know, and that's how we can draw a crowd. So that was my goal in the beginning. Let's let's start drawing a crowd. Let's let people know that we've got something good happening here. But now I've kind of brought in like an outside producer, if you will, who's kind of helping us get more focused on television, because we're pretty popular on IWTV. Honestly, we don't have the best money deal with them, so it doesn't necessarily go in our pockets, but just breaking it down by how much we get per hour, people watch our stuff. A lot of people, it seems like, watch our stuff. So every time we get a new video up, I see checks or PayPal deposits, whatever. So now we're looking at getting like a local half-hour show in town, which, I mean, we could branch that out to other things. I kind of want to do a WFW exclusive Roku channel, maybe sell some advertising so we can see more money back in. And that's my goal right now. I'm probably never going to be on any kind of a giant national level, but I still think that we've got a good enough product, good enough people involved that more people will want to see us. And so that's my goal right now, is just to keep growing and get more eyes on us. And in the beginning, it was really just to get all these stories that are in my head out into the world. And now it's like, I think I can do more. So, but it took a while.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's funny because like our show, like here, like we started it as like a debate show that was going to be something that we did every Sunday, which we still do. You guys know that because you're watching us. But then like when COVID happened, like we didn't have a choice. We had to like find ways to like do content. And so we were like, all right, what can we do next? And so we started bringing on a bunch of our friends that we train with and just started bringing them on, just talking to them, asking them questions. And then like slowly but surely we started like growing a little bit, and we just kept putting out more content and just seeing what people liked, and it's kind of exploded to what we have now. So it's definitely been kind of cool, and I definitely understand about the whole trial and error and try to figure things out. And then like the only thing that we need to do is we also need to find sponsors too. So if you're out there watching us right now, sponsor us so that we can start, we can make this a full-time thing. But no, one of my other questions I love asking promoters who are coming on, right?
Sure.
Aside from just like making yourself different from like the crowd, and like obviously not having the ego, because we know like that's a no-go. Like you're gonna erase yourself from every locker room. But one of my favorite questions I love asking is like, what's like one of the hardest things that you've had to learn being a promoter in this business?
So I think the hardest thing that I've had to learn is something that I'm still learning, which is why I try to bring in outside talent or outside people to help me with it. Just because someone is good and they're available doesn't mean you have to put them on your show. Man, like I have a hard time with somebody being like, hey, I'm free that day, and I look at them and I'm like, man, they fit, I have to find something for them. And, that's still something that's so overbooking, I guess. It's still something that I struggle with, man. I want to give people opportunities when they're worth it. And especially if I think they can add to our event, like why would I say no? But the reason you want to say no is because having 45 people in your locker room isn't really, it's not the best look. So yeah. And then the other thing that's tough, it's not really something that I had to learn, but it's hard, is buildings. Man, just you can lose a building in a second, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be anything that you did. Finding a building and keeping a building so that your fans have somewhere to come to. We actually had a spot in a strip mall right before COVID. And then COVID hit, and we weren't able to pay the rent because we couldn't run shows. And the landlord kicked us out. which I thought was ridiculous. Like, how are we supposed to make any money, dude? We're not a freaking grocery store. We're a wrestling company. But man, we were really building something strong before COVID. I think we were running weekly, and we were getting good crowds, and they just kept growing. I made money right before COVID hit on wrestling, which I haven't done a lot. I'm being honest. I mean, you don't always make money as a promoter. It's crapshoot, man. You're hoping, But I made money on my first show, which was awesome. That's kind of what kept me going. But there's all kinds of, factors of whether or not people are going to show up. But yeah, we were starting to make money, and I was really, really looking forward to the future. And then now we're kind of in a rebuilding process. But I think everybody is, so.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing that COVID did was it kind of leveled out the playing field to everybody. It was like, even like the big dogs, right? WWE, Impact, and AEW all got halted too. Like, so when COVID kind of like, I don't want to say let up because that's not the right words to use, but when COVID started like to kind of get scaled back a little bit and we started kind of finding out ways to like work, like you started seeing all these other little indie companies like start taking off.
Yeah.
And a perfect example of it is like you had mentioned IWTV, but like if you look at the Wrestling Open, like every Thursday, there's up in Worcester, Massachusetts, they fill that place out like almost like 300-400 people, or I don't want to say it like that, 200 to 300 people are always jam packed, like enjoying watching wrestling, and they're like up on the ring and just like having fun, like watching everybody work. So it's definitely cool to watch that happen and see like these little companies start taking off and just be able to build massive like audiences out of pretty much nowhere.
Rocky Mountain Pro in Colorado has exploded.
Yes.
They just hired Vince Russo to come in and write for him, and I guess it's actually his second stint with the company. He wrote for him a while back too, but no, I didn't know about that. But now Rocky Mountain Pro is like really successful on Fight TV. They're doing monthly pay-per-views, and they're doing weekly shows, and they're giving a lot of guys work and putting eyes on people. And I actually know people from out here who fly out for Rocky Mountain Pro. Mitchell Taylor, our Heritage champ. Awesome dude, man. So talented, so good at the little things. I think Mitch, he's been around a long time, but he's still, it helps him, I think, because he knows exactly what the crowd wants, and he gives it to him every time he goes out there, man. Talented guy.
Yeah, love it.
Our Heritage title to England.
Oh, word?
Really cool. Yeah. He took pictures with it over in London. He was supposed to try to defend it, but I never found out whether or not he did. But at the very least, he had it over there, and was walking around in London with our belt. So that's kind of cool. I mean,
that is cool.
Yeah.
I remember the first championship that I had won, I had taken the belt like with me all the way up into Massachusetts and the Maine and stuff like that. So we got to visit the Northeast and all through the Mid-Atlantic and stuff like that. And now I miss that belt. I'm gonna have to go get it back. So, hey, listen, these are all like the big kind of questions, but we got to get into the best segment of the 3 Count podcast, right? Okay. And it used to be the power rankings, but it's no longer the power rankings. It is a 3 Count podcast, 10 count questions. And here's how it works, Mr. Miller.
All right.
I've always wanted to know how that sounded out loud, but I'm going to fire off 10 questions at you rapid fast, and whatever your answer is, that's your answer.
Okay, let's do it.
So we're going to put on the imaginary timer for added pressure. Bing! And in the words of Mike Goldberg, here we go. SmackDown or Raw?
What was it?
SmackDown or Raw?
Oh, Raw.
Favorite cartoon?
Heathcliff.
Sonic or Mario?
Mario.
Favorite movie?
He Said, She Said.
I like it. Is it Aunt or Aunt?
Aunt.
Favorite actor?
Ooh, Brad Pitt. I don't know.
PlayStation or Xbox?
PlayStation.
Favorite podcast?
The 3 Count Podcast.
Right? This is what I try to tell everybody. Like, pay attention. We've got all sorts of stuff going on. Nominate one person that you want to see on this podcast.
I couldn't hear you again. I'm sorry.
Nominate one person that you want to hear on this podcast.
Get Apollo Star on there, man. Get him. Yeah, he'll tell some stories.
And then last but not least, my favorite question to ask every single person who comes on this show. Favorite curse word.
Fuck.
It's like, is there any other word?
It's the most diverse word in the English language.
It truly is.
Yeah.
But hey, those are all my questions, and the last thing I need from you is to let all of our listeners and our viewers know where they can find you.
Okay, so yeah, World's Finest Wrestling on Facebook. Just do a little search for us. We actually just hired someone to expand our social media reach. Like I said, we're trying to grow. So, but right now, yeah, we've got our Facebook. It's I want to say it's WF Wrestling Indie. And then there's also a fan group attached to that. On March 25th, we'll be in Connersville, Indiana at the Boys and Girls Club for Best Friends Fighting. The main event is Shea Solo and Jake Rose, who are both trained by Cody Hawk. They trained together. They were a tag team for a while. So it's going to be a dope main event. And there's a lot of other stuff going on the undercard. You can catch it all on Facebook. Just head on there, and we've got it all up and posted. So
there you go. He lets you know where you can find it, find him, and find the promotions that you got there, and you find World's Finest Wrestling, and you go check it out because it's very necessary. And with that being said, we're gonna go like every favorite part of a wrestling match and take it home, because this is the 3 Count Podcast presents Now Entering the Ring, and I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you up that mountain called wrestling. And like every, good shirt, but it's never about me. It's about who's entering the ring. So who's entering the ring? You see him right there. Keith himself for World's Finest Wrestling. And you guys know what to do. Tune in to the next episode and be there. Or you're legitimately subscribed to our YouTube channel. You're following us on Spotify. You're leaving us those 5-star frog/reviews. You're buying our merch right there on ProWrestlingTees.com or ForYourWear.com. You're even following on all of our social media platforms right here at the bottom. And you're doing all that stuff, commenting, leaving all the, sharing it with all your friends and telling them about us. Or you're really just kind of waiting for this episode to end. You're waiting for the outro. And then you're choosing another episode to listen to. Peace.
So I'll start it off.
What's going on, 3 Count Nation? I'm Clifford Red Dog Miller with the catchphrase. But what I really want to do right now, go to twitter.com, right? Go over there, find us at the 3count_pod, give us a follow, give us a like, give us a comment. We want to talk to you guys. Go to IG at the 3 Count Pod. Give us a like, give us a follow, leave us a comment. We want to interact with you. Go to youtube.com, give subscribe, turn the bell on, turn the notifications, leave a comment. We want to talk to you. Go to anchor.fm/the 3 Count Podcast, and in there, you can leave us a message, and we will talk to you. Basically, what I'm trying to tell you is that we want to talk to you. We want to have fun with you guys, and we love listening to what you guys have to say. Also, one thing I need you to do for me, the 3 Count Podcast also has merchandise. At ProWrestlingTees.com/the 3 Count Pod. Please go buy our t-shirts. We love you guys, and we hope you love us too. So show us some support, please.